Like many other cozy gamers lucky enough to have a Switch too, I've spent the past month playing Pokopia non-stop. I've completed all the zones, unlocked all the abilities, and very nearly completed my Pokedex, except for 2 very annoying Pokemon. You know who you are. I've tried my hand at making some cute builds, but whilst I love looking at what others do, my own creations tend to fall short. I found myself craving the earlier game when I was unlocking new things and before I had 5 worlds and a cloud island to decorate from scratch. One of my favourite genres of videos on YouTube are challenge runs, where players put restrictions on the way they play their favourite games, such as not being able to leave the farm in Stardew Valley or completing as much of Skyrim whilst trapped in Whiterun. I was particularly inspired by zone lock challenges from World of Warcraft, as well as Broseiden's Route Master series, where the goal is to complete as much of an area before you're allowed to move on to the next one. And I wondered, is this possible in Pokopia? Pokopia has 4 story regions: Withered Wastelands, Bleak Beach, Rocky Ridges, and Sparkling Skylands, and the sandbox region of Pallet Town. In the story zones, there are quests to complete that slowly tell the tale of where the humans have disappeared to. Along the way, you meet new friends who teach you new abilities such as cooking and flying, all of which help make the rest of the game smoother. I want to see how much we can push every story zone to its max before we move on. In this challenge, I will be completing every zone habitat. I define those as the ones with the matching backgrounds to their zone, meeting each available Pokemon and collecting all the human records and zone-specific recipes. I will need to get to environment level 10, and as an extra challenge, I want to make sure every Pokemon has an awesome comfort level and create unique builds for them. Time to get started with Withered Wastelands. I made a new profile on my Switch and decided to name this Ditto after my real-life dog, Rhea. There's no corgi ears, but these buns will have to do. I won't be using any of the online features for this, such as Cloud Island printing or mystery gifts, as I feel like it defeats some of the challenge of the run, and because I don't want to pay for a second Nintendo Switch Online subscription. After meeting Professor Tangrowth, we venture out into the barren world of the Withered Wastelands. It's here we meet our first Pokemon, Squirtle. Now, I need a little sidebar to discuss something here. When I first played this part, I couldn't stop laughing because it reminded me of that one bean with the flowers, you know? Squirtle is a thirsty little flower and I have to water gun him. The rest of the first section is pretty scripted. You restore some habitats, meet Bulbasaur, teach him what a bed looks like, and then as night falls and we get cold, Charmander helpfully spawns to light a campfire for us. Professor Tangrowth trauma dumps on us, tells us stories until we all fall asleep. After this, the game opens up a lot. We still have a lot of tutorial type quests to learn basic gameplay elements, but we are a bit more free in the order in which we complete them. Before we can get started, we overhear a super cute conversation between Bulbasaur and Squirtle about their history together. You can witness these conversations by having certain Pokemon live near each other, and in this series I want to try and catch as many of these conversations as possible. Tangrowth shows us the old rundown Pokemon Center, and after some expert level IT support, the PC introduces us to challenges. Because I'm a masochist, I also want to make sure I complete all the challenges available to us before I move on to the next zone, which will be helpful for the Pokelife coins anyway. We set up a few new habitats as we go about restoring the world. We're going to be setting up a lot of habitats and meeting a lot of new Pokemon, so I won't go over each one in a lot of detail, but I'll still show them all in the footage. Hitmonchan shows us how to beat the other Pokemon up, just in case one of them tries to give me issues. And Tangrowth encourages me to start investing in real estate. Scyther pops up and nearly cuts Squirtle's throat in the process, and now Ditto knows how to knife someone as well as punch them. I thought this was a kid's game. I meet Magikarp, who has fast become one of my new favourite Pokemon because of this game, and despite the very degrading message in his Pokédex entry, he is actually very useful and teaches us how to jump, which will help us get around a lot easier. A little more exploring and we run into Drillbur, whose lifelong ambition is to turn Pokopia into Stardew Valley. He teaches us how to till dirt and plant bean seeds, and promptly moves into the field we dug, which he will later complain about being too bright. Moles, am I right? With our new home built, Charmander and Box, and a new career as a party planner, unfortunately, he sucks. Also, did you know the I threw up screenshot was photoshopped? It's just this line where he says he's tripped. Sorry for ruining the game for you. Luckily, whilst he's not a pro party planner, Charmander does have a secret talent for abstract art and paints us a flag from sticky old berries. Fresh off the high of our first building, Tengrove turns his hand to becoming a renovator. His dream is to make this ruin into a sparkling Pokémon Center once again. We just need to track down the right tradesman for the job. Timber is an expert builder, and Scyther has already demonstrated his carpentry skills, but nobody ordered the digger to clear the old rubble away. Oh look, here's Onyx. He's basically as good as a digger, right? Unfortunately, he's been imprisoned for crimes unknown, and we only started martial arts like 30 minutes ago, so we've not worked up the strength to smash through stone. The professor thinks that if we can make it rain, the hard stone will turn to mud, and Onyx can burrow on out. Except it never rains. Wish we could have that luck in the UK. His genius idea to get a downpour is to find a slowpoke, whose yawns can call down a deluge. This makes me wonder, why is it not always raining in Pokemon games? Surely there's enough slowpokes out there being all sleepy that you just permanently need an umbrella? But before our slowpoke can yawn, we first have to make this place humid. Ditto has already done quite a bit of work opening the springs and regrowing trees, but Squirtle was some sort of witch in his last life and knows how to do a rain dance. Why didn't he say that before? Oh, because it doesn't work. You tried. Luckily, the energy from the dance is enough to wear Slowpoke out, and he puts in a big yawn, bringing us a very brief shower. Those little drops of rains are enough to disturb an ancient slumbering presence from the depths. No, not Cthulhu, Kyogre. He had just been really tired and gone for the world's longest nap and forgotten to water his crops, aka the world. With his help, we can bring back the rain and de-wither the wastelands. We procrastinate turning in the quest so we can make the most of Kyogre's monsoon, which mysteriously stops as soon as we complete the mission. We free Onyx, who despite being grateful for his freedom is actually not a fan of the damp and wants us to make it dry again. With the world looking a bit more green, the Pokemon can begin their unpaid labour and help us remake the Pokemon Center to bring capitalism back to the world. This is where the story for the zone ends mostly. Tangrowth drops some hints that we really should go find a new zone to explore, and we ignore him completely. We still have so many habitats left to go. We can reuse some of our old habitats if we move Pokemon out of them, so I make this little park for the ones that like the outdoors and fill it with flowers and grass. It's really cute how much the Pokemon cheer you on in this game. Like, hell yeah, I did just spit on the floor, thanks for noticing. From here on, we are mostly making new homes and finding new guys, so cue the montage. Whilst we were waiting for the new Pokemon to spawn in, Drifloon took us to a dream island that we can raid for resources. Oh yeah, we met Drifloon and he is just as creepy in this game as he always has been. Note for later, do not house him next to baby Pokemon. At the moment all we have is this Eevee doll, so we can mostly just find the resources we can find in our area. But I think it's possible to uncover a Pikachu doll from treasure spots which would open up new resources to us, fingers crossed. We can also meet a very special legendary friend on one of these islands if we get lucky. Or at least I think we can. Maybe that unlocks later in the game. We will see. There's also another mythical Pokemon in this zone, which we can summon, but it's going to take a very long time and be one of our biggest grinds for the Wastelands, but more about that next episode. With the Pokemon Center restored and a new little waterside retreat built, our region is really starting to liven up. We need to work on some more impressive builds soon, but our resources are quite limited, so I'm probably going to go for a rustic woodsy vibe with the region. We still need to collect all the fossils you can find in this zone. Those are the shield fossil, armor fossils and wing fossils, and work on raising everyone's comfort. But I think we're off to a brilliant start. The beautiful habitats we set up last time have already attracted some new Pokemon, so let's go meet the newcomers. Excadrill moves into Drillbur's old home, Wartortle moves into Squirtle's old home, and Marowak into Cubone's. It's almost like they're evolutions of each other or something. A gooey little thing wriggles out of the water, and a giant cactus jumps out of a berry tree. Gastrodon has been nibbling away at the bait on our fishing rod, and Gerda has been practicing his lifting with some crates we put on a wagon. I realise now I didn't film myself making Gerda's habitat, but here it is. Haxorus is the last in his line to show up and appreciate the log furniture. He showed up along with Pinsir, whose best friend Heracross also showed up later. I'm sure they'll be so happy together. We also got 4 in a row with Ivysaur, Slowbro, Noctowl and Parasect. The Wastelands was really the place to be. Hiding in our tall grass one day was a giant dragon. I'm not sure how tall this grass is to be hiding him. And then Blastoise shows up. This is totally normal behaviour. There's also another easy habitat we can set up along the way, the fishing pond, which is just like the ocean fishing spot but in fresh water. We must have put some good bait on the hook, because it wasn't long before we got a bite from a Slowking? Isn't he meant to be really intelligent? Maybe he was the one fishing. Unfortunately, some of the habitats are much trickier. The illuminated bench requires a powered-on vending machine, and we haven't been to Bleak Beach yet to unlock electricity. Hang on, Pichu has generate? Maybe this will work. Perfect. We can also use that to light up the garden terrace too when we get the pieces for that. We're waiting for them to show up in the shop or Pokemon Center, because they take iron ore to craft, and that also comes in a later area. Wait. Did you guys know if you try to pick up these broken streetlights you can't? Instead they turn into iron ore. Just enough for us to make those pieces. Venusaur, here we come. Speaking of furniture we need, the floating in the shade habitat requires the resort umbrella, which we haven't been able to find in the shop so far, but hopefully we will soon. The Very Berry habitat and luxury Chirp Chirp meal both need the berry items, which I have the recipes for, but we don't have all the berries that we need, especially for the basket. Because we can't print trees from Cloud Islands, it's about waiting until the berries or their seeds come in the shops, or the furniture themselves. Pichu's hard work paid off. Here's Venomoth. I was pretty sure the Chansey resting area would be easy to set up with the kit in the shop, but it needs gather Pokemon to build, and we don't have any, nor do we have access to any. Luckily, the recipe for the plant popped up in the shop one day, and I was able to make it myself. DIY superhero. It's so pretty that Blossom came along to dance for us. I'm honestly surprised this habitat doesn't spawn Chansey, but whatever. Now, for the rest, this is where my new bestie comes in, Pidgey. Pidgey is so useful because she has a search ability and the fly ability. The search ability allows you to use the dowsing machine to find hidden glowing spots, and because she can fly, she doesn't get stuck on terrain. She does need snacks sometimes though, but she's not fussy. In these glowing spots we can find 3 things we need: fossils, mysterious slates and relics. Relics are needed for 2 specific habitats we're missing: the irresistible scent and glow, which needs the pitcher plant, and the creepy grave offering, which needs the eerie candle. So far I haven't been able to find any of these, but it's just a waiting game. If you get lucky, they can spawn in the Pokemon Center too, so I'm checking that every day. The mysterious slates are the big grind I hinted at last episode. They fit into this mysterious mural you can find underground, and there are 27 of them. 26 for every letter of unknown, and 1 for the symbol unknowns. Restoring them all unlocks a very, very old Pokémon. As for fossils, there are 3 that you can find in the Withered Wastelands: the armor fossil, shield fossils, and wing fossils. The first 2 are actually pretty easy to find. Along the way, I've picked up a lot of duplicates which I've been using for trading. The armor fossil brings Shieldon, and the shield fossils brings Bastiodon. But the wing fossils... According to Cerebi and other websites, this can be found in the Withered Wastelands, but I have yet to find one piece. I've got enough to make several Bastiodons, and not even a bone of Aerodactyl. I'm beginning to wonder if the information is incorrect, or you can only find the wing fossil pieces after a certain story beat. If anyone knows, please let me know. If I don't find a single one by the time all the other grinds are done, then I might accept that that's the case and move on, but I will grind it out if it is possible. We're also waiting for a wet puppy to show up on Dream Islands, but no luck so far. I managed to find a Ditto doll in some of my digging, and I got very excited, because if this could take us to any island, we could find resources we're missing in this area, and that would be useful for some of the builds I'm doing. But so far, it's always taking us to an Eevee island. I think it can only take you to ones that you've been on before, or ones attached to areas you've unlocked, which is interesting, if not annoying. I also found a sail fossil on one of these, which is meant to be unique to Bleak Beach. Because I want to do each habitat naturally for the area, I won't be using this fossil as it would take away from the challenge of Bleak Beach. Similarly, I accidentally made this vending machine resting spot, but its background in the habitat decks is for Bleak Beach, so I destroyed it, and will need to remake it when I move to that zone. We finished last episode with 57 Pokémon and 42 habitats. Now, it turns out I'm not very good at math, because the final totals we have been using for Pokémon are a little scuffed. I had forgotten to take into account Kyogre, Mew and Suicune in the final Pokémon number, which would actually take our total up to 70. Although I am pretty sure that the wing fossils aren't actually obtainable yet, so that brings us back down to 69. 68 if we discover Suicune also requires a later story beat, but back up to 69 if we include Sableye, who is showing up in an event soon. It's very complicated, but for now I will stick with 69, from one funny number to another. That means the wing fossil habitat is also unobtainable, but the new habitat for Sableye means we can keep the total for habitats at 49 at least. With that boring bit of admin out of the way, we managed to make some progress with our habitats. Pidgey helped me dig up the Pitcher Plant Pot Relic, which allowed us to finish Irresistible Scent and Glow, only for Victory Bell to turn up at a different habitat altogether. Ungrateful, really. We also found an eerie candle from a dig spot, so I copied it with some of my Pokemetal at the 3D printer, and voila! A creepy grave offering. It sounds a bit derogatory, because Chandelier showed up and really liked it, and I don't think they're that creepy, considering some of our residents. We also managed to grab the last berries we needed from the Pokemon Center to finish the berry craftables. That allowed us to make the Berry Feast campsite, which is for Charizard, but we already have him, so it's just for the habitat decks really. The very berry space with help from Pichu to light the lamp, and the luxury Chirp Chirp meal. We were soon rewarded with 2 new Pokemon friends, Goodra at the very berry space, and Pidgeot at the bird table. I have no idea how he fit in there. Some of our other habitats also got some attention too. Vileplume graced our Chansey resting area. Volbeat finally showed up in our hydrated flower beds, and was a real freak about it too. Lampent rounded out our Litwick line, Venusaur finished the 3 starter lines, and we got the other 2 forms of Shellos and Gastrodon. But the real star of this episode is yet to come. With lots of grinding, we managed to finish our mysterious mural. Or should I say, Mew-roll. Yep, our reward for this insanely long process was the mythical Mew. Believed to be the ancestor of all Pokemon, Mew is the equivalent of our last universal common ancestor. Although it isn't the ancestor of humans as well, so not quite. I could suggest Pikaia, but not all Pokemon are chordates, and humans are. Perhaps I should stop trying to apply real-life biology to a fictional franchise? Either way, Mew is the last Pokemon I know for sure we can get in the Wastelands. No wing fossils have shown up in this time, and I still haven't found Suicune on the Dream Island. I'm thinking perhaps he doesn't show up until you meet Raikou in Bleak Beach, but that's just speculation. I could time travel or use the Dream Island reset exploit to check the theory, although I don't really like the idea of doing either because they feel a bit cheaty to me. If you have thoughts, let me know. So what's left? Well, I've bought all the recipes from the shop and found all the human records, but I haven't got an awesome rating for all my Pokemon yet, nor have I finished building up the island, and we still have some challenges to complete. There's also the floating in the shade habitat, which requires the beach parasol, and I've stopped acquiring new recipes from Sparkling Ripples, and one still hasn't shown up in the shop. I'm not sure if it's even available in the rotating stock until you get to Bleak Beach, and because this is such a weird challenge, I can't find information out there to confirm or deny. For the challenges, a couple are going to be impossible to complete. Building different structures is simply impossible with a Pokemon available to us. We've built the Pink Hut, Leaf Den, Leaf Hut, Leaf Cottage and Leaf House, but the other kits we found require either Pokemon we don't have yet, like Gather Pokemon, or materials we don't have access to yet, like ingots or twine. You've got to get the last colour variant of flowers from the shop to get the Flowers and Bloom challenge, but other things we can complete like harvesting veggies and building more of our houses. I just have to grind those out. I'd like to do a section where I read out all of the human records we found. I might do that in a separate video, along with conversations between Pokemon, for those who are interested in the lore drops as well as just challenge progress. I've been doing a lot of building in the background, but I still want to make a Pokemon gym for the area as well, so we're not quite ready to move on. But when we do, where should we go? I'm thinking Rocky Ridges offers us the most useful upgrades. Graveler, smelting, cooking, although the painting and water spitting from Bleak Beach would be nice for aesthetic purposes. I'd love to hear what you think is best. Far from the grind of all the Pokemon and habitats we got at the start, now we only have a couple left down to track. The Sableye event started whilst I was working on this challenge, so we quickly threw together the items for his habitat and added him to our Pokédex. He was actually a real thorn in my side, as no one would trade at the Pokemon Center for the whole time the event was going. You'd think I'd like him more because he has Sable in his name, but I am overall quite indifferent to him. Sorry Sableye fans. We talked about this last time, but the floating in the shade habitat was the last one I needed. I was pretty sure that the beach parasol would never show up in the shop and was ready to throw in the towel when a commenter in the previous video mentioned someone I had been neglecting hugely, Vespiquen. At some point on my save, my flowers just stopped giving me honey, so I only collected it from Combi's litter. As a result, I stopped trading for things from her, thinking they were mostly used to collect patterns I couldn't even use until I unlocked painting later. But no, she will occasionally have in her rotating inventory the beach parasol, so we were finally able to finish the last habitat of the zone. And so we're done, right? Wrong. There is one last Pokemon to get, the wet doggo himself, Suicune, taking our actual total up to 70. Oops. Thank you to another commenter who reassured me that we can definitely get Suicune before meeting Raikou, or I probably would have given in on this one too. But no, I persevered, and persevered, and yes, I finally gave in to grinding by time travelling. Or by the reset method. If you don't know how to do the reset method, when you first arrive on the Dream Island, you can check your Pokédex, making sure you choose all from the Pokémon and then in this area. If you see something with a question mark, you know there is a special legendary waiting for you. If not, you can exit and restart your game. I didn't want to do this, but it became clear that the series would be massively delayed if I didn't, so I did. And let me tell you, it was not easy. I spent hours upon hours searching for this boy. You can see my live reaction here. I actually had to come in and do a live reaction to this because finally, after I don't know how many hours resetting, I think we have Suicune. There we go. I'm going to come back afterwards to harvest all these blocks because I can't get them. Withered Wastelands anywhere? The ice? But let's just go meet him. We've been waiting for you for a very long time, mister. We do build him a special home later, I promise, but that means we have all the Pokemon we need. With all the habitats done, now we're finished, right? Still wrong. We still have to get an awesome comfort rating for all our Pokemon and complete all the challenges for the zone possible. Who would have thought that these two would be just as grindy as finding Suicune? Pleasing Pokemon is hard, They will tell you what they want, but sometimes they're really specific, and because we haven't unlocked loads of items, it was impossible to answer some of their requests. Halfway through, I gave up on making things aesthetic in their homes and just threw down anything they requested to make them happy. If they want to live in an ugly home full of everything they love, who am I to judge? Suicune was a tough cookie to please, but we got him there in the end, and here we go. 70 Pokemon as happy as can be. I am aware that this list contains Ditto, which would make our 70 number for Pokemon seem wrong, but it doesn't include Kyogre, as he actually can't be given a home. He's actually just got the whole ocean instead. And lastly, the challenges. There are some we can't complete. The Pokemon and Habitats challenges stretches across the whole game, I believe. As for building different structures, we just don't have access to enough plans to build anything new. I believe this one is also a cross-region challenge. The Ultra Flame, Power Plant and Freezing Chambers are plans we get access to in another region, but we can do the rest, it just takes a lot of time. A lot. This was my white whale. Build things. Sounds easy, right? Wrong. The prefabs that have their own interior have a limit, so at one point I wasn't able to build any more leaf dens or huts. The only other prefab we have the materials and Pokemon for are the pink huts, but the game only sells 5 in the shop. The rest we have to find ourselves from sparkling ripples, which we get about 5 of max a day. I searched, and I time travelled, and I searched some more. If we had not time travelled, we wouldn't have had enough huts for another month and a half. But we got there in the end and farmed up all the materials and... yes, we're done. I promise this time. All the challenges, all the recipes, all the human records. I went over those in a separate video you can watch, I'll link here. All the Pokemon, including a legendary and a mythical, all the habitats, we did it. We also overheard a lot of conversations with Pokemon in our time in the Withered Wastelands, and I'd love to share them with you now. There's some cute ones, some weird ones, and some heartbreaking ones, but I love this feature of the game as it really shows off the relationships between the different Pokemon. Before we move on to Rocky Ridges, I'd love to show you around the town I've been building in the background this whole time. In Season 2, I am going to make these videos a little longer and less snappily edited, so you can go through these things with me as I go. At least, that's the feedback I've gotten that people would prefer. Okay, so we start at the Pokémon Center. I haven't done anything special for that area in specific. But if we go down this way, this is like a little village I made. On one side is like the Hitmon family and Tyrogue. They're fighting outside. Look at them. And on the other side is the Gudra line and Gulpin because he needed to go somewhere gooey as well. And then I put Bulbasaur and Ivysaur in here. I'll show you where Venusaur is in a little bit. I didn't really do much with this area, but this is like my little village. I've put a lot of Pokemon in here. As you can see, there's usually a lot of people around and a lot of stuff on the floor. Up here we've built a little tree. I actually found some twine in the shop towards the end so I could make these blocks, which I got the recipe from. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to make this. But I've put Pidgeotto and I think Hoot up here. Going back up here, we've made a little house for the Charizard line and then randomly Axew, I don't know why he's there. And then this is my little gym. It's meant to be like a little maze, a little grass-themed place, and the boss is Venusaur. So that's why he's separate to Ivysaur and Bulbasaur. Down this way, I've made like a little road. It's not very... There's a little picnic area here, I forgot about that. It's not very well done. I didn't have many good like tiles for it. Oh, there's a little house up here as well. I can't remember who's... Oh, it's the Slowbro and Slowking, and then Cubone and Marowak. And this is one of the many pink huts I had to build to get that challenge I talked about earlier. But yeah, this is the road to Pallet Town. And I've done it like along here towards the gate to Rocky Ridges. I wish I could power on the streetlights and vending machines, but we haven't got that yet. I can use Pichu, but it doesn't stay up. There's a little cave there, but I didn't do much in there. Down this way we have the path to Bleak Beach, and then this is the little temple I made for Suicune, but it's very ugly inside. He just wanted so many things, and I didn't know where to put them, so he just has beds, baths, and toys. It's very, like, gorish, but he likes it, so... And then this way leads up to the 2 farms I made. Oh wait, no, spoilers, we're going in here first. This is the Mew mural. And I've turned it into like a little area for ghost Pokemon. I've got the Litwick line here, and also Mew, like a little temple. Okay, now we're going to the farms. Down there is a little door to my house, but am I going in there? The house is not very well decorated. I just sort of put a lot of stuff in there to make me happy, because Ditto's comfort level also matters. Up this way, we have a little logging area that I use for Haxorus and Fracture. Some more pink huts that I just had to make for the achievement. And then this is Heracross's farm. It's like a crop farm. Over there you can see I can't get through there yet without the power up, so that's like a blocked off mine. I made a little greenhouse full of flowers. And then Heracross lives here with some random Pokemon. Parasect, Venomoth, and Blossom, I think it was. And then on the other side is a rival farm. And this one's run by Pinsir, of course, because they're rivals. And this one's like an animal farm rather than a crop farm. So we've got Pinsir, the 2 little bugs, and Cacturn working here. And then this is like a little barn area with a little corral. I've just got some grass Pokemon in here. But I've set up like little stables. I wish I had Mareep in this zone, because that would have made a perfect inclusion for this area. And then finally I made a little passage up to the Sparkling Skylands gate. Sort of, I feel like it's a bit of like an awkward place to do, because it sort of just juts out up here and you can't change those tiles. But yeah, that's the work I did on this town. So, of course, as I finished filming the tour and editing the video, I realised I missed out a section. Let's very quickly go down here. It's just past the village. And you can also get to it up there on those stairs. And it's a little beach area. This was like the first house I made. And it's for Squirtle & Co. and Magikarp. The inside isn't quite how I wanted it to be because, once again, they were just asking for things everywhere. But we've got like this is a little bed, a little resting area, some fishing, and then over here we have the Shellos and Gastrodon pen. And some more ink huts, of course. They're everywhere. See, there's one there as well. And that is the end of the tour, I think. Just go back and check to make sure that everything's still good before you move on. Everyone's still got their awesome rating. We've got all the shop recipes. And we've done all the challenges apart from these 3, which we need to work out over time. And these 3, which require plans from another region. Yeah, we're ready to move on to Rocky Ridges. Thank you all for sticking with me through this challenge. I'll be editing together all of these videos into one for newcomers, and then starting on Rocky Ridges in the new, less edited style. It's been a grind, but it has been so worth it, for the experience and for all the lovely people I've met along the way. That's you, not the Pokémon. Maybe the Pokémon too. And until next time, stay cozy.